Hello, Richard.
Hi, Colin. What are you doing with that beard, by the way?
I'm gonna shave it Saturday, I think.
Why you going to a Pens game?
No, I'm no, I am just it's just grown out and I wanted to see what it would look like and it doesn't look good, but I'm okay with it because
No,
I'm
it
kind
actually
of
looks it actually looks pretty cool.
I think it looks good when it's the in the middle process that doesn't look good.
We
Like
call
it's
that the
it's
messy middle.
yeah, get which is where the Steelers are all the time. But
Ooh, boom, boom. I love it. Go ahead.
yeah,
All
but
right, come
no,
on. Let's go.
it's the getting there that looks bad. But once it
Yeah,
gets there, it kind of looks okay. I need to go to one of those like beard places that they shape it up real professionally. That's what I need.
yeah, there's millions of them.
There
Okay.
are. Lawrenceville's a hotbed for that.
Yeah, is it?
Uh huh.
Yeah. My son
Yeah.
wants to live in Lawrenceville, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, a
All right.
question.
Question.
After watching the playoffs, and we're still in the midst of the playoffs or whatever, and I said this when he was in Cleveland. Do you think Baker Mayfield would be a great quarterback for
I do,
Pittsburghers?
I do, I do, I do. It's funny you say that. Um, I almost texted Omar that in the middle of the game. I do. I actually do. And he's not old. He's
Right.
got a wealth of experience. I do, I do, I do. And then the second part of that was I don't think Tampa will let him go.
I
But
know.
I really, really, he's kind of mobile,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a pocket passer,
Uh-huh.
got a hell of an arm. He's got swag like there is no tomorrow. And I
And
think he's a great leader, and I love him.
and you have to put him in the dirt and bury him 6 feet under to get
Yeah.
him to quit. He is the personification of what Pittsburghers say they want in a tough competitor.
Yeah,
Like
but
he's us.
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, it's so interesting, and it's funny because you and I have not had this conversation.
I
But,
agree. I know.
but I sat there and watched this game, and I promise you, I picked up my phone twice, and I even constructed a text message to Omar Khan and decided not to sell it. He might tell me just sell cars and leave them alone, but
Right.
but he wouldn't do that. We're friends. But yeah, it's really really an interesting question. But the counter to that is, first of all, Tampa won't let him go. Second of all, and they'd be foolish if they do. Second of all, but then it could be a bidding war, so that might be good. But then I watched Mike's postseason press conference.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they're looking for a quarterback.
That's the other thing. I think they think Kenny Pickett can do what Baker Mayfield does, and
I
I
think
don't
they
agree
do.
with that.
I think they do think that, and I think that Mike and listen, I tell you the truth. I just have a ton of respect for Mike Tomlin. I do. Um, I think that if I were Mike Tomlin, like I said, my plan would be very simple. I'm going to coach until I can't, and then I'm going right to television. I'm not going to coach again. But Mike Tomlin thrives on being a football coach. That's what he lives on. That's what he breathes. He lives it. He made a comment in that press conference that I absolutely love. I use it about me when people tell me, "Hey, slow down or do something." I'm always on go, always.
Right?
And never, I don't, and that's what he said about himself. He's always on go, which makes him one of the best coaches that I've ever seen. And I would run this out as long as I could, 2 year, 5 year, whatever, and then I'd go right to television because his energy is really contagious, and it would really, really translate really well on the airways, I think.
Plus, TV's not a bad deal for making $20 million a year for essentially working part time.
As we see from his predecessors and from everybody that's doing it now. Do you have a favorite announcing team?
No, but Romo's fallen off the deep end for me. I was real high on Romo, but now he's out there. I I'll say this, and then I'll get into answering your question and head on. I think Chris Collinsworth gets a terrible rap, especially here in Pittsburgh. I think he's really good, and people don't want to like him because he was a
Since
Bengal, and
yeah,
they think that and they think he's biased against Pittsburgh. I think that Jim Nance is still really good, but now he's kind of saddled with Romo, who is kind of like out there too
yeah,
much.
he's kind of like a caricature almost now, and
Yeah,
it's more comedy than substance, and
right.
I don't like that. Um,
No, I agree. I'm not a big. I was at first when he did a couple college games. I'm not a big RG3 fan. I was.
I'm not.
So I really don't. I don't pay attention to it all that much. Like I don't watch a game and it's dependent on the announcers or not. What
Yeah.
my enjoyability quotient is.
I really, and you'll probably hate it, but I really like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck.
Well, here's the deal with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. And no, I don't hate that. It's a steadfast dependability and reliability, and you know what you're getting every time. The highs aren't ridiculously high, and the lows are never low. The game is called very consistently and very good. And if you are someone who's in tune to football, you get exactly what you want.
Yeah, that's why I like him. I really do. I do. I always love Al Michaels. Always. He'll go down. He needs to probably step down at this point, but he will go down as one of the best ever.
I think he was great. He's one of the best ever, if not the best ever. It's just over the course of the last 20 or so games that he's done, especially that prime package or whatever he did this year, it kind of felt like he showed a general disinterest at times for some of the games he was doing. The enthusiasm wasn't there. But when you're 80 years old or whatever, that happens.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, when I go to Al Michaels, though, I always go, I had a very, very good friend who was a lot older than me. But when I went to California and I lived with his family, and he was just really close to me, and he and Al Michaels were really close. And he invented instant replay. Do you know Do you know who it is?
Jim Kodak.
Oh my God, you killed me. No. Tony Verna, famous CBS sports director. And and he was there. I mean, he was my best friend for years. He was so much older than me, but and he's passed away. But he and Al Michaels were pretty close. And
how did he come up with the concept in real time that I guess it was more everybody conceptually wanted that, but it was a matter of the technology allowing that?
Yeah, well, it wasn't even technology. You just had two decks, and it was Rolly Stitchwich or something. It was the first play he did. I think it was Army-Navy game. And he said, rack that over there, rack this over here, and then play it back. And that was kind of the birth. There's a book called Instant Replay by Tony Verna. He would explain to you, because there's been a debate about whether it was Tony Verna or Roone Arledge. And Roone takes credit for it, but he was ABC. Tony was CBS. So it's an interesting history. But Al Michaels was in that mix with that genre of people at that time.
Well, replay is one of those things, I think, that is such a study in our games in so much as this. It went from starting out for 90% of its life, pretty much, if not more, about 80, 90% of its life, from wholly and solely an entertainment product, which was to deliver it to us to see in our living room.
Yeah.
That the leagues said, wait a minute, why are the people in their living room getting better resources and things that we're getting on the field? And then they implemented it into rules. You never see that with anything else.
You know everything.
But I mean, think about it for a minute.
Insane.
In 1989, in 1990, whatever, we were getting things and saying, oh yeah, he actually stepped out of bounds. And they just carried the game on. Then at one point they said, wait a minute, why is a guy in Spokane seeing that on his TV, but we can't change the game?
Yep.
And then they changed the game. Is that better or worse, though?
Well, I think it's better, because I think it brings a level of credibility and accuracy, and I think it's great. And it's much more entertaining, I think, and I do think that changed the game and changed everything about professional sports. I really do.
It changed the game forever. It did. And in its day and age now where everybody is betting, it's ultra important, I think, for the backbone of the game and to make sure that the game has merit.
Yep.
The one thing, though, that I always hesitate is this. When people compare, old stats or old records, I'm not saying replay's bad, but how many calls would have been negated or how many would have been given? Or it's impossible from a historical sense.
You can't quantify that.
Right. No, you never can.
No, you can't. And so you just accepted all things equal. It is what it is, and you don't have any adjustments to it. But going forward, this is the rules. And maybe back then there were other things and obstacles. People weren't as big or as fast. There were so many different. It's so hard to compare eras.
Right.
You really can't do that. And I think he invented instant replay. I want to say 1963. So, and I have a hard time with the word invented because it's not a technology.
It's a process.
It's a process. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but Tony believes he invented instant replay. Rune believes he invented instant replay. And if you ever have an opportunity, Tony's written some great books. And he produced and directed Live Aid. Remember Live Aid?
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, he produced and directed Live Aid with Bob Geldof.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, he was my best friend forever, and I learned a lot. We've written screenplays together. We've done a lot of good stuff together.
Man alive,
I don't
that's
even know why
crazy.
I'm talking about this today.
No, it's fascinating. I am down that road though. I am always fascinated by our need and want to have these games have 100% officiating accuracy when it's something that's unattainable and we'll never get there, even with instant replay. We'll never get 100% accuracy.
But why do you think we want 100% accuracy, and why is it bad?
One, it takes too long to get it.
Well, the way it's structured right now, it's taking way too long, and that needs looked at.
And two,
that slows the game down.
Correct. It messes up the continuity of the game.
Yeah.
And I just think that sometimes we don't necessarily need it for the sake of slowing up that game or to mess up the continuity. Like you watch the last 2 minutes of a college basketball game, takes 25 minutes because they're looking at if the ball tipped the guy's fingertip and if the spin on the ball changed or not. I get it. And sometimes it's a 9-point game. That's the part to me where I think we've overdone it at times.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It definitely needs sped up, and I don't know how to do that, and maybe it's the elimination of certain aspects, but it definitely needs sped up. Sometimes they come back with a call that it blows me away. They came back so fast,
right?
And then so there's the consistency piece of that. Why does it take fast? Is it fast sometimes? Why isn't it? And then here's the part that I don't like. The calls coming out of New York.
Well, it's incredible you say this because a friend and I just had a discussion about this on Monday is what it was. You know how I think they could really show transparency and how I think it could be enjoyable and more palatable?
How?
I think that all communication between the field guy and the person he's talking to, we should have access to.
Oh, that's cool. That would be cool. Yeah,
So
in New York, what do we see in New York? Is it a room with how many people in it?
We don't even see it, but it looks like
the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain.
Yeah, but you have seen it at times. They've done features on it. I know Nate Burleson did. It just looks like a production truck that's in a room. The bunch of monitors and buttons and things. And if they took us into those conversations, I mean, what do they have to hide? They're talking, hey, what do you see here? Is this guy out of bounds? Is he not? What do you have here on this call? That would be, for me, something that would be entertaining.
I think it would too. I think it really would. But then you'd have people saying, did you hear what he said? Yeah, well, how did he see that? I didn't see that. That's wrong. I think it would just be a little bit more, and I'm sorry because
that's all right.
Ring noises for those of you that listen to Ring.
Who do you like that's left, by the way, of these two games? We're getting to the point, we're on the cusp of a guy like me saying RG3 can never, or excuse me, a guy like me saying that Lamar Jackson can never do it, of being made to look pretty bad. But I still don't think he could ever do it.
Well, he's having a record year.
I know.
So, and I don't think so either. The Detroit Lions are owned by who?
Ford.
Yes. So of course I love the Detroit Lions.
Right.
I have a Detroit Lions hoodie on the way here. It's white with the blue. It's kind of cool. And it should be here any day. So I will be wearing it. And hopefully I'll be wearing it in a victorious manner next week.
But and their logo, their one logo has like has the Mustang logo kind of incorporated in it.
Yeah, and it's that one. So it's white and blue. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Anyway, so yeah, I like Detroit. I love their head coach. I really do. I mean, he's like, okay, it's fourth and 100. What are we going to do, coach? We're going for it. Okay?
Right.
It's fourth and a mile, coach. What are we doing? We're going for it. But he didn't go for it on that one field goal in his first possession, which surprised me. But so yeah, I like them. You have I really still like San Francisco. I really do. I think San Francisco is hard to beat, and I know Brock didn't have such a great game last week, which tells me he's going to have a great game this week. I love him. I love the offense. I love the West Coast offense. I love it, love it, love it. And he fits in. He fits into that system really well. How about you? Who do you like?
I like Detroit to beat the 49ers. I think the Detroit story is just too good. And I like Kansas City to beat Baltimore and then Detroit to win the Super Bowl. And I don't know. It seems sentimental. I don't know.
Yeah, that's dancing in the streets at that point.
It is. But I on the AFC side, though, I just can't bet against Mahomes right now. He finds a way.
He does find a way. And I was really surprised because, I've seen him become a little bit more human this year in terms of sometimes he's not always on. And I've seen him throw some interceptions. I've seen him, a couple things but listen, he's been in the year 6 leagues or 6 years, and he's been in this playoff game 6 years.
I know. But I saw things this year, and I'm glad you touched on this. He threw his helmet down. He yelled at his teammates. He
humanized himself.
Yeah, he was not a robot anymore. And it felt a little more Brady-like how he acted. And I kind of liked it a little bit, how he got into his teammates. And
do you still feel about Brady? You opened that door. Do you still feel about Brady as a quarterback the same way you did 3-4 years ago about him?
Yeah, I think he cheated, but I think he's the greatest of all time, and it can be both.
Yeah, I'm not sure I believe it anymore.
What do you believe?
I don't know. I guess the cheating part really started to impact my opinion more than it did before. I don't know. Just something. I'm not sure I like seeing his personal life the way I'm seeing it.
I've told you all along. It's my stock answer all the time. I don't know if he gained 1 yard or 1,000 yards because of cheating. I don't know if he scored 1 touchdown or 100 touchdowns because of cheating, but we can definitively deduce those numbers are greater than 0. So I don't know where to ever rank him when they say, where is he against his peers?
Well, how much time do we have left here? I want to open this conversation.
Let's go. So
Chelsea asked me this question. She asked me for my top 3 picks for the top 3 coaches ever. Okay. Top 3 coaches. Can you answer that? Who's your top 3?
Well, Belichick, even with the cheating. Joe Gibbs, because he won Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, and none of them were great. And probably, I don't know.
You're having a hard time saying who I said.
Bill Walsh.
Hard time saying Chuck Noll.
Kinda, yeah. But one of those guys, Walsh or Noll.
Well, I like Bill Walsh too. So I said Pat Riley.
Oh, you mean in all sports?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So I said Pat Riley. I mean, I lived in LA for Showtime. It was unbelievable. It transformed the game of basketball in the NBA. I really believe that. Because remember, you had not just Showtime with Pat Riley and Magic Johnson. You had Isaiah Thomas in Detroit. You had Larry Bird. These were fabulous representations of the game. And then you had Pat Riley with his cool slick back hair and his Godfather shirt and tie. He was a bad MFer. Excuse me. But he really was. And so I loved him. I really looked up. I had my shirts made like his. So him. Who else did I say? I did say Chuck Noll. and I did say Bill Belichick, right? So that would be my top three. Joe Gibbs didn't enter it into that conversation, probably because he was so low key and subdued. But
oh yeah,
and when you look at it, he really does deserve to be in that top three. And she also asked me, were my choices based on winning records?
Well, with me, it's not. It's winning championships, and that's why I think there's heat on Mike Tomlin, or at least I give him heat, because it's about getting to championships and winning championships. That's the ultimate mark of great coaches for me. It's not about the journey. It's about the ultimate game.
Yeah,
or games.
I agree with that. So just real quick, and then I'll let you go. I'm looking for the time. How much time?
No, we're good.
Okay, so you saw his post-game press conference, right? It was
Yes.
Post-season press conference, and he was asked two specific questions: one about Mason and one about Kenny Pickett.
Right.
The response about Mason, it was pretty impressive, because he basically said that he has a different opinion of Mason right now, and he saw the man prepared and ready to go, but he also was he endorsed highly Kenny Pickett. So where do you go with those two conversations? Now, there was no time to premeditate those answers. This was him. This was pure raw Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
So what do you take from that?
I actually think pretty strongly about this. One, I do think that Mason Rudolph changed a lot of people's minds, including the coaching staffs, over the past 3 weeks of the season, that they went, whoa, like, we didn't know he was this good, and he might be. To Kenny Pickett, I think it's a continuation of listing him number one on the depth chart when he really wasn't the best quarterback in the building. I think it was a stroking of the ego. It was a fear of losing him emotionally. And a lot of this is theater so as to keep him in a good emotional state going into next year. I don't want to call somebody a liar in Mike Tomlin, but there is a lot of handling with kid gloves happening so as to not have Kenny Pickett go in the tank.
I just think it's more organic than that. I don't. That sounds almost contrived. I don't think that. You could be right, and but I don't think that. I think that, first of all, Mason Rudolph didn't change my mind.
No,
he didn't change my mind. But what I do, and I am happy for, because I think he's a good guy, and I think he's a great kid. I think it's going to get him a pretty good contract.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't think that's going to be up to the Steelers what happens to Mason.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Yes, something did.
Yeah, that's your opinion on Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, something did go wrong. But here's the funny part. Here's the funny part. You know what? So I do another show, an interview show. And do you know who I'm going to interview?
Hold on. Taylor Swift.
Siri.
That's actually that's a great idea.
Isn't that a great idea? So
Yeah,
I'm interviewing Siri, and that Chelsea got me Siri. So we're going to get Siri on the show, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to ask her anything we want, and she's going to say, that's not polite, but that's okay.
I like that. All right.
I know.
Well,
so maybe we should get her on this show.
No.
That's a good idea. No.
I'd be confused.
But anyway, okay, so my stupid thing. Okay.
You said it so many times now your phone's
I
going
can't stop Siri. Okay. All right, I'm done. I can't do this.
All right. I will talk to you.
I get so wound up in these conversations. Oh, you exhaust me.
Bye.
You exhaust
me.
me.